In 1995, a robber named MacArthur Wheeler was arrested by the police after robbing 2 banks in Pittsburgh. Wheeler was genuinely shocked by his arrest. In his confession, he questioned how the police were able to recognize his face on surveillance footage. During the robbery, Wheeler didn't wear a mask to cover his face. Instead, he smeared lemon juice all over it.
Huh?
He believed that lemon juice would render his face invisible to the cameras.
Huh?
His reasoning? He knew that lemon juice could be used as invisible ink to write on paper. To him, this was perfectly logical, making him confident that the cameras wouldn't catch his face and the police would never find him. Intrigued by this case, David Dunning and Justin Kruger conducted research to understand why people who lack knowledge and competence remain unaware of their own shortcomings. In 1999, they conducted a study titled Unskilled and Unaware of It. In this study, they tested a group of people on grammar, humor, and logic. In the first experiment, 65 participants were asked to rate jokes they found funny. Those who considered themselves to be skilled in judging humor scored the worst on the test. Dunning and Kruger then gave the same participants a language and logic test. The results were the same. People with the lowest scores were the most confident in their abilities, while those who scored the highest believed others were better than them. This gave birth to what we now call the Dunning-Kruger Effect. We've all experienced it. When hanging out and chatting with friends, there's always someone who speaks with absolute confidence about a topic, believing they know a lot. But when we quickly search the information on Google, it turns out everything they said was wrong. What's strange is that this person seems completely unaware of their ignorance. Everyone else is also in the dark, so they believe what this person says because they seem so sure of themselves. It's a classic case of empty vessels make the most noise. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias where someone with limited knowledge or ability experiences an illusion of superiority, believing their competence is far greater than it actually is. People who know only a little about a subject tend to overestimate how much they know and underestimate how much others know. As a result, the most confident people are often not the ones who should be confident. Dunning and Kruger illustrated this phenomenon with a graph. The vertical axis represents confidence, while the horizontal axis represents competence. As shown on the graph, when we know very little, our confidence is sky high. But as we learn more about the subject, our confidence plummets, only to gradually rise again as we truly understand it. So why does this happen? Shouldn't people who perform poorly realize they're not good at something? We usually have a gut feeling when we're unprepared for an exam, right? After all, we're the ones writing the answers, not someone else. What's even stranger is that this effect occurs when we know just a little about a subject. When we first start learning something, we overestimate how much we know. We believe we've already mastered it, but we haven't learned enough to recognize how much more there is to know. We haven't developed the skill to accurately assess our knowledge and abilities, so we end up thinking we know more than we do. Imagine you're about to take a test on World War II. You feel prepared because you've watched plenty of TikTok videos about the war. But beyond watching those videos, you haven't done any real research or in-depth learning. You weren't there during World War II, and when you sit for the test, you're confident you'll do well, better than average at least, right? This is how the Dunning-Kruger effect works. Watching TikToks or even a few documentaries about a subject doesn't mean you've mastered it. You've only seen the tip of the iceberg, unaware of how much lies beneath the surface. This creates the illusion that you've figured everything out. We see this every day, whether it's a know-it-all friend, a student who thinks they're smart but gets poor grades, or an employee frustrated because someone else got the promotion. Performance reviews offer an objective view of someone's abilities, but when someone doesn't fully understand their job, they tend to be dissatisfied. In their mind, they're far better than the report suggests, and they start making excuses, like their boss doesn't like them or underestimates the person who got the promotion. One study asked engineers at a company to rate their performance compared to their peers. A surprising 42% believed they were in the top 5% of the company. In another scenario, professors at a university were asked whether they taught at an average, below average, or above average level. A staggering 94% believed their teaching was above average, a number that's mathematically impossible. Despite being used to grading others, these professors weren't good at accurately assessing themselves. Another study focused on university debaters. Teams in the bottom 25% of the first round lost nearly 4 out of 5 matches, but they believed they won about 60% of the time. Without a clear understanding of debate rules, these students didn't realize how often their arguments were dismantled. Research conducted in North America, Europe, and Japan revealed that culture plays a significant role in this cognitive bias. In a survey on driving abilities, 93% of Americans believed they were better drivers than average, while 60% of Swedes felt the same. In contrast, most Japanese drivers tended to underestimate their abilities, viewing lower performance as an opportunity to learn and improve. In their research, Dunning and Kruger found that the less someone knows about a subject, the lower their metacognitive abilities in that area. Metacognition is the awareness of one's own thought processes, how the brain evaluates itself. When metacognition is low, people are unaware of their own incompetence, and that's truly sad because those who talk the most often know the least, yet they're trusted simply because they're the loudest. What's even sadder is that those who lack knowledge are often the least likely to seek out opportunities to learn. They won't read more or listen to others because they already believe they're the best. On the flip side, those who know more are often hesitant to teach the less knowledgeable, even though that's what they should be doing. They feel inadequate, even though they're more qualified. In the end, everything stagnates. When we look at media and the internet, we constantly hear loud voices from those who know little. Fake experts, opinionated influencers, and self-proclaimed authorities. They have just enough knowledge to speak, but it doesn't stop them from making noise. Once again, empty vessels make the most noise. Today, misinformation is a massive problem. People barely scratch the surface of a topic and then rush to teach others. They don't take the time to read more before spouting off about how much they think they know. Those who scored highest in Dunning and Kruger's study often knew they did well, but believed others did better. They lacked confidence because they assumed others were more skilled. They overestimated others' abilities and underestimated their own. As a result, they found it hard to speak up when it mattered, even though they were the most knowledgeable. But the Dunning-Kruger effect isn't entirely bad. This bias helps us take that first step with confidence. For instance, a new YouTuber might not fully understand the process of creating a video, but if they don't take that first step, they'll never learn what needs to be improved in the next one. This bias pushes us to move forward without fear of what we don't yet know. Once we've started, we can either choose to keep learning or settle with what little we know. To overcome this bias, we need to recognize that we're only scratching the surface. If you feel too confident, pause and think. You might need to dive deeper before teaching others. Open yourself to criticism and feedback from others. Another way is to compare yourself with others. Do they know more? Should you seek advice from them? Don't settle for thinking you know enough just because of the little knowledge you have.